Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Stories with Pastor Torri. And I'm Pastor Torri. And before we get started tonight, I have a few announcements that I want to make. First announcement is that Stories with Torri are normally on 5:30 on Wednesday nights, like right now. But starting next week, we will be doing story time at 4 o'clock instead of 5:30. We want to make it a little bit earlier for people and for myself. And so from now on, Stories with Tori is going to be at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays. Also, wanted to remind you that we are having our Wednesday night meals through the month of June. I know we posted something on Facebook that said that we're stopping and that this is our last week of doing it, but we have extended it because there is such a need within our community, and we want to continue to do that as long as possible. So we're going to be doing it through the month of June. And then last but not least, we are going to I wanted to invite you to our service on Sunday morning at 9:30, and we are on Facebook Live, we are on YouTube Live, and we are also on our website, which is like right down here. Our website live on Sunday mornings at 9:30, and our story time tonight is a little bit different. I had a story ready to go for tonight, but there have been some recent events that have changed my plan. And I wrote down all of my thoughts and all of my words so that I can clearly communicate without becoming tongue tied or go off on a tangent and maybe say some things that I might regret. The story that I am telling you tonight is complex. And I feel at times I have no business telling this story because it isn't my story to tell. But yet, in many ways, it is. Because it's a story that is impacting and intensifying and ripping apart our country. I'm not talking about COVID-19 or Trump versus Biden or masks or vaccines. I'm talking about racism. Just over the past few weeks, I have heard three different stories, two of which ended in the death of Black men. One was taking a jog in his own neighborhood, and he was gunned down by two white men in a truck. And then, just a day or so ago, there was another Black man held down by a police officer. The officer's knee was on this man's neck for over 5 minutes while the man under his knee begged to breathe. Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd both died. Needlessly died. Now today, I heard of a woman who was in Central Park with her dog, and a Black man asked her to leash her dog. The woman became frightened and called the police, and the situation kind of escalated from there. The man began filming to protect himself, while the woman became more frightened and was exclaiming that this man was trying to hurt her. You can hear the woman frantically yelling and almost playing the victim while the man calmly films and asks her to stay away from him. Now, this incident ended differently than the first two. The police came. They took statements from both parties, and then both were released. I am both saddened and angered by the way people treat one another just because of the color of our skin. There is a movement called Black Lives Matter. And one of the images that has become associated with this movement is an NFL football player named Colin Kaepernick. Former NFL football player, because he was banned from the NFL from kneeling during the national anthem. there was a huge controversy. Some people were saying that he was disrespecting the flag or disrespecting our country. He was disrespecting those who gave their lives in service to our country. Now, for me, when the national anthem plays, I stand and I put my hand over my heart and I look at the flag and I think about my Uncle Harold who died in World War II. I think about my friends who have served and friends who are serving now. And I am grateful for their sacrifice. I'm grateful for their service. And I'm grateful to live in a country where I can say that I am free. But for many Black lives, the national anthem does not bring about those thoughts or feelings. Decades of oppression and racism and injustice have been passed on from generation to generation, from family to family. And the flag doesn't mean the same thing to some of them as it does for me. And as a white person, I need to recognize that. I think sometimes people fight against one another and don't realize they are fighting about two totally different things. The flag represents freedom to many, but to some, it represents the failure of a country to provide freedom to all. When a Black man can't jog through his neighborhood without fear of being gunned down, is he really free? When a Black man can't ask someone to leash their dog without getting the police called on them, is he really free? For me, as a white female, I can't understand what Black men and women go through, but I can listen. I can listen to their stories and do my best to understand their concerns and help them stand as an ally against injustice and fear and discrimination. For those who are offended by what I am saying, I ask that you do your best to see both sides of the story and not just one side. And it is my hope and prayer that we can learn one another's stories in such a way where we don't become offended just because a story is told from a different perspective. May the grace and peace of Christ be with you. And I will see you hopefully on Sunday morning at 9:30, and hopefully back here next week with a time change of 4 o'clock. Grace and peace, and may God have mercy on us all as we try to do our best to learn each other's stories. Amen.